Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some big team battle gameplay. This is taking place on the map Entombed. It's big team strongholds. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I don't really like it when BTB doesn't have too much of an objective. So I feel like I kind of prefer the objective of Strongholds, even though Strongholds is just kind of a rip-off domination from Call of Duty and it's not particularly interesting. But at least it's better than Dominion from Halo 4. And this is a gameplay where I managed to get about 22 kills or something like that. Nothing too special, to be honest. I still need to actually go out on my way to stack up some gameplays because I haven't really got anything on my hard drive right now. I deleted a bunch of stuff. But this weekend I plan to play a bunch of Halo, so do stay tuned and you should be seeing some better gameplays on the horizon. Nonetheless, I didn't really actually want to talk about Halo today, just FPS more over in general. Today I wanted to speak about the two FPS unveilings we saw just a few weeks ago, or less than a week ago perhaps, in the form of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Battlefield 1. If you guys didn't know, when I first came to YouTube, I was a Call of Duty YouTuber, and although you haven't seen much on the Modest Major channel, if any, I don't think I have uploaded any actually, I think it's been predominantly Halo, I did used to center my channel and my gameplay around that game, so I kind of have a staked, investment in that game, and I like to talk about it and think about it, even though I don't necessarily want to play it anytime soon. But the newest trailer definitely sparked some controversy for it, and I wanted to kind of contrast and compare that with the trailer for Battlefield 1, which was much more positively received by the community. Now, if you guys didn't know, there's kind of been some controversy around the fact that Call of Duty has been doing more and more futuristic gameplay as of recently, or at the very least, futuristic modern gameplay. I've been watching interviews for it, and they've been saying that they're trying to ground this in realism nonetheless, and they're using real consultants from the military to try and devise a plan for what the military would look like, 50, 100 years in the future, something like that. So they're saying it's grounded in realism, but to me that seems like backpedaling, because the reception to the fact that they've done this for the third time in a row, first we had Advanced Warfare, which wasn't received particularly well, then we had Black Ops 3, which was probably the most mixed received out of the Treyarch Call of Duty games, if you're unincluding Call of Duty 3 perhaps, but people weren't across the board welcoming and accepting of Black Ops 3's trends and changes in the COD genre, but nonetheless, we've got this new one coming out, Infinite Warfare, and it seems to take things a gear higher with this space warfare, and you see this shot of these ships in space going on. And I kind of just want to go into what I think the mindset behind that is and what they were thinking when they devised this Call of Duty strategy. When the regular guys, the original guys and founders of Infinity Ward left Call of Duty and went to devise their own IP, which was obviously in the form of Titanfall, I think that the developers at the time were pretty darn terrified of what was going to happen, because, Infinity Ward are these behemoths, these Goliaths of gaming, who pretty much shaped and shifted the gaming industry to their own will. And they got everyone on the Call of Duty hype train. They pretty much overthrew Halo 3 at a time when nobody thought that Halo 3 could be taken down. And it wasn't necessarily, crushed or anything like that. It was still pretty close, but the moral of the story is they found their own significant market, and they went cross-platform, multi-platform, and it worked out significantly well for them. And I think when these, Vince Zampella and can't remember the name of the other guy off the top of my head, but it will probably come back to me. I think when they went to go and make their own team, that was something that obviously the majority of these multiplayer FPS developers were keeping their eye on. They were thinking, if this, goes to task and they they do what they did previously and they bring out this new genre and it gets everyone on the hype train, we could be seeing a shift in which the way that FPSs are made. We've got to make sure we keep up with the trends. And you know, if you followed the trade show conventions and the trailers coming out for those games, you'll know that Titanfall was being extremely well received at the beginning. It kept getting all these awards at trade shows. It was getting a huge amount of pre-orders. And it looked like, you know, with the Xbox 360 being such a successful platform, and Titanfall being this exclusive to the Xbox One, at the time they were thinking, oh my god, you know, this is going to be this blockbuster Xbox One game, the Xbox One's probably going to take off, and this game is going to be huge. And, you know, with the development cycles of these days, you know, such a budget is put into it and such a time frame, you know, they need at least 3 years to be able to develop these Call of Duty games. By the time they were making Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, they were probably around the sort of time where Titanfall was just coming out. This was when they were originating the idea and putting the plans into action. And I don't want to excuse this because I don't necessarily thinking, you know, I think it's kind of a weak strategy for a developer to have when you think about what made Call of Duty successful in the first place and what lifted Call of Duty 4 off the ground is they had a unique idea combining RPG-esque mechanics with these custom loadouts, with these kill streaks. You know, they had their own idea, they had their own original. It's not like Call of Duty 4 looked at something else at the time and thought, oh gosh, isn't it scary what Halo 3 is doing at the moment? Maybe we should take that idea and we should craft something using those ideas. No, they came out with their own idea. But I think that kind of gives you some sort of insight into the wacky ideas that Call of Duty Infinite Warfare have, because nowadays if you go onto any Call of Duty forum or you go onto any, you know, YouTube comment thread, you know that people are beyond disappointed with this return of the sci-fi genre, and the fact that it's injecting its way into COD. You know, people don't see the sci-fi elements of Overwatch, for example, and get frustrated, or the sci-fi elements of Doom and get frustrated, because they know that that's sticking to the roots of that game, and it's its own theme, and it's its own IP, so it doesn't really matter. But the fact of the matter is that the changes to Call of Duty are coming at a cost of Call of Duty's reputation. You know, when people think of Call of Duty, they think of boots on the ground, they think of a more grounded, realistic military experience, and of course they're trying to backpedal in their interviews and say, oh, you know, but it is boots on the ground, you know, we've got real consultants that we're consulting with, and it's going to be based on, you know, potential real-world technology. Like, we all know that's garbage, and I think they're kind of in an unfortunate spot, because I think, you know, if they'd have been setting out right now to make IP connected to the COD universe, they would do something very different to this, but, you know, they were in this mindset 3 years ago of panicking and seeing what it is. Then if we compare this with the Battlefield 1 trailer, now, I think one of the things that frustrates me about this Battlefield 1 trailer is that everyone's seeing this and they're comparing it to Infinity Ward, and I feel like they're kind of giving DICE a free pass, in my opinion. Although I do think what little gameplay, and I want to emphasize little gameplay that we saw in that trailer was pretty outstanding, and it does deserve some sort of accommodation. I don't necessarily think we should, you know, channel our anger from Call of Duty Infinite Warfare into giving DICE a free pass for what they're putting up with Battlefield 1, because if you actually look at DICE's track record as of recently, there is absolutely no reason they deserve a free pass. You know, we had Star Wars Battlefront, they managed to take, you know, what is, in my eyes, a game that shouldn't be able to be ruined. It's the Star Wars franchise. As developers, you should be making some of the best projects and some of the best gameplay that you're ever going to make in your entire development career. And they managed to turn Star Wars Battlefront into a boring gameplay experience. You know, it had its set pieces and it had its graphical fidelity, but there wasn't much more to bring to the table. And then before that, we of course had Battlefield Hardline, which was one of the more underbaked titles in years, and that is kind of reflected in the fact that Battlefield 4 actually retains higher population numbers, as of last time I checked, than Battlefield Hardline. I actually believe that Star Wars Battlefront is pretty much going even, I think, with Battlefield 4 last time I checked. On top of that, and then Battlefield 4 ain't exactly a prize pig itself, being broken on launch across multiple platforms, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 4, both having severe damages at launch. They did to be fair, turned that around, and it managed to be a pretty darn good product overall. But I would also argue that Battlefield 4 was a fairly iterative IP when put in comparison to Battlefield 3. There wasn't too much changes going on there, and I don't think there was that much original brought to the table. So in my opinion, you know, I do think the trailer was decent, and I'm not saying that I think the game should be hated on, but I'm also not saying we should jump ship from the hate of Call of Duty, you know, channel that hatred and that frustration into giving DICE an overall free pass. I honestly think there's better FPS developers out there. I think Overwatch is a far better polished product than both of these games, far more love being put into it, and these beta tests are really going a long way in making sure that the gameplay pays off in terms of its smoothness, in terms of its quality, and in terms of its breadth of content. You know, it doesn't look like they're going to be screwing people over too hard in the DLC department, which is, of course, something EA is pretty famous for. You know, I do think that the genre is pretty captivating. You know, we haven't seen a World War game in quite some time, you know, and in these next-gen graphics, it could be something to be excited about, but I also don't think you should be jumping ship and putting down your pre-orders, because you're not really, you know, giving it to the publishers by doing that. You're not really showing yourself as a smart consumer. You're showing yourself, in my opinion, as a bit of a bandwagoner and raising your pitchforks at Call of Duty, then going through this mob mentality and jumping onto this other game instead of just being an overall smart consumer and seeing how the beta tests run, seeing how the gameplay performs when we actually see it, instead of you know, assuming that DICE are going to do a perfect job of releasing this game where they haven't done that for the previous 3 titles, in my opinion. You know, there's enough people complaining about Hardline, there's enough people complaining about Star Wars Battlefront, and there were enough people furious at launch of Battlefield 4, so why are we trying to pretend that Battlefield 1 is going to be some, you know, gem of a game when it could, for all we know, be some sort of a disappointment if we don't play it smart enough as consumers. Anyway, I've been Modest Major. Hope you guys can agree or find some sort of middle ground with this rather controversial topic. These are just my opinions, of course, so sound off in the comments if you disagree. I've been Modest Major. Thank you very much for watching. Peace out.